Ladies and gentlemen and race fans out there, this is another edition, special edition as we like to call them, of the Joe Sixpack Podcast. We are broadcasting live on Twitch, and you can catch us later on if you're not watching live. We download it to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Amazon Podcast, YouTube, and last time I checked, about 24 other ones. So the Joe Sixpack Podcast, you can pick it up easily on Anchor, where you can watch it or listen to it forever. Twitch is free, and the reason it's free is they only hold on to the broadcast for about 2 weeks, so they don't have to charge you for all that space. Joe Sixpack Podcast is brought to you by PTM Racing TV, one of two broadcasting companies that broadcast the Joe Sixpack Racing League. They do our Sunday League, and Thursday nights we do the Formula V League, which is in its infancy, no broadcasting there yet. Tuesday night is the Pick 'em Up Truck Series, which is on Turn 3 Network, and we're really happy with both those broadcasters. So tonight's special guest is Joe Gattina. Did I get your name right?
Yeah, that's Joey Gattina, yep.
Gattina, okay. And you are owner of Sim 500 Esports Racing League. And what really caught my eye when I reached out to you, or you got in touch with me, is you have 7 leagues on iRacing that are all broadcasted.
We do, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We just have been very fortunate. We kind of run Sim 500 like a business, as I'm sure you run your league.
Yep.
Just through great partnerships and sponsors. We recently just signed the 811 Call Before You Dig North Carolina branch to our league on Monday night. So we've got the
cool.
Virginia 811 group coming on board. Hopefully the Alabama group. Trans Service Logistics have been with us for I don't know how many years, but they've been a great supporter. Ford Entertainment Group, Jeff Ford's been great to us. So, yeah, it's because of those guys. Sharu Diecast is why we're able to do what we're doing.
Really? And how long have how long have the leagues been on iRacing?
Well, Sim 500 goes back to the NASCAR 03 days.
Wow.
I was racing in another league, RSR, with league owner Keith Brooks back in the day. Very, very new to sim racing, but of course I had a real racing background. At the time I was running late model dirt cars and stuff like that, but just fell in love with sim racing. You know, I could stay home and I didn't have to go in a sweaty, a shop and get all nasty, hot and sweaty. I could,
right.
do this from the luxury of the house. It was great. But I started working with a guy that owned Sim 500, and then actually Brian Keselowski, the brother of Brad, Brian and I worked together to put a series together called Midnight Thunder on Friday. And the reason why I did that was because my wife was giving me so much, mess about as much time as I was spending on the computer. So Midnight Thunder was created, and that gave me time to go out with a family, go to dinner, do whatever I want to do. And then I got to get home for some quiet time. Well, Midnight Thunder is still going today.
Wow.
Probably 15 or so years it's been active. So basically, if you go back and look at the history books of Sim 500, it was some of the bigger names, your Alfalas and a lot of your pro drivers, which I don't have a roster in front of me, but that was the birthplace of, I would say, the Super Series. They had a vision. They created something back in those days. It was all broadcast on RLM-TV, and they were the pioneers. I owned RSR, which is currently active on iRacing, and just through some situations, it was no longer my league. I decided to walk away and start Sim 500 back up. Cool. And we're starting our 6th season. So, and it's a lot of the same guys, believe it or not, that we raced with 15 years ago.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, you said that you started one of those with Brad Keselowski's brother.
I did. Brad and I, we got together, started Friday night, and then we also did a Saturday series, and that's when Brian was running the ARCA series and winning a bunch of races. It was Nocturnal Adrenaline, and it ran the ARCA series. We only did that for a short time, and then, but yeah, that's kind of where it all started for me as far as the, learning to become a league admin, kind of getting the respect to be a league admin.
Yep.
I didn't stay around very long with Sim 500. The product that I put together was better in the hands at the time with someone else. And they took it and just did a fabulous job. We used to have a radio broadcast on it Friday nights.
No kidding.
Of Midnight Thunder. It was great. You can go to the front of the website and listen to the radio play-by-play like MRN.
Oh, that is so
versus
cool.
going and watching a video. So
Yep.
It was, nothing for 60 to 80 drivers trying to show up to make that race on Friday nights.
That is incredible. Now, you mentioned a whole bunch of sponsors. We get our league. We're like the Sunday afternoon softball beer league. So if we were official races on iRacing, we'd be pretty close to bottom splits. But we're happy with that. It's just a bunch of guys like to get together and race and have a good time. And occasionally we'll get a sponsor to come on and. Plan B Sales is with us. They give us a code JSP at checkout, and you get free shipping on diecast, which can save you $12 to $15 depending on where you live. Other than that, sponsorships on iRacing are pretty tough to come by. So how did you find 811 Dig in North Carolina when you're down there on the Gulf Coast?
Well, I think it's where we're having our success is members coming into the league. And they just like the way it's ran. We don't do rules. When I started Sim 500 back up, we had a book of rules, and we were watching guys going through pit stalls and all this stuff. And I had a good friend of mine who ran Dell Jr.'s league back in the day, DNP. And I would talk to him a little bit about, some of the issues we were having, just get a little advice from him. And he said, when we took our rules away, we had the best racing we ever had. And nobody thought that would work, and it has. We've had our growing pains. We'll still have our bad races, but we don't have any rules. We start on the green flag, and other than that, we just ask you to stay to the right going down pit road under caution, and really that's it. And just respect your fellow driver. So,
that's great.
It's just ran a little different than, I guess, most leagues out there. And so with that being said, these guys and some of our members, they come in, they like what they see, and these sponsors have been offered up just in that fashion. We literally have not gone out and searched for any sponsors. I don't have time, unfortunately. I wish I did for our drivers, for everything they do for us. I think we've had 970 drivers start a league race at Sim 500, and we've got some guys that are Chad Coleman and has got 892 starts. EJ O'Rourke's got 841.
Wow!
It's insane what we have in the group we have, and like I said, they just come in, they see it, they like it, and they're like, "Man, this would be great here." So we went through multiple rounds of Zoom calls, Zoom meetings, and got along great with the people at 811. And this is again our first stint with them. Monday nights with Trans Service Cup. They're taking over the sponsorship from the Trans Service Logistics, who's been covering Mondays for the last few years now. But series is moving to LSR TV. Cody and the guys over there, Wesley, John Mush, and all those guys. They're doing everything they can to accommodate us. Social media is becoming a bigger thing for us. So. I say, it's fun to run the leagues in a lot of ways, but it gets serious at times, as because there is a ton of work that goes into it.
Yeah, there is. Like I was mentioning before we went on, I'm a garden designer by trade, so I'm lucky I get the winters off. And with the 3 leagues that we do here, we're on Facebook. We have our own Facebook page. We've got the Discord. We've got the Joe Sixpack podcast. We're on Twitter. Or on Reddit. I was on TikTok for a while with it, and we've got the most views of anything on TikTok of the videos and stuff we put up, but they were not racing people. They were just a bunch of... You know what TikTok's like. It's like the Wild West of weird people.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do you do on your social media? What's your weekly thing for like your Monday race? How do you promote your races on social media?
Well, I'm not very good at that because I do a lot of the stuff for the promoting and I guess the social media posting. But my thing, we've got a lot of our broadcast groups are through YouTube. So I use Facebook more than anything.
Yep.
I don't use Twitter a bunch. I probably should. But we use our broadcast networks, and then we've got somewhere close to 2,000 people that follow Sim 500. So that's something that we're working on right now. So I can tell our guys, you can thank us all day long in the broadcast and everything else, but to show thanks, a good like and a share. That's something I never thought we'd be worried about it in sim racing, but liking and sharing these posts is becoming extremely important because that's what these partners are looking for. They're looking for an active page, and they do. They look at Facebook, anything that you have your name on, and that's what they want to see.
Wow. So you actually had Zoom meetings with 811, and what type of, if you could disclose it, what type of package did they come up with for you?
Well, we were originally working on the Wednesday Truck Series, but we just decided with what they were bringing and where we really want to take the league. That's the aspect of it, because they also have a podcast as well that Brian Morehouse puts on, Safe Digging Sports. You can find that on Facebook, and I'm sure Twitter and everything else. But Brian puts that on for us. Just like I said, the whole social media aspect that they bring, that they brought awareness to us kind of through these meetings. That's where we felt like our Monday series needed to go, because with Trans Service Logistics, they have been a partner of ours. I said it 100 times, but for a long time through our great friend Glenn Campbell. And for them, they're a logistics company. They don't really have a whole lot to get out. Their initial thoughts were, hey, we can get in here, let's talk about jobs. Yeah. We need truck drivers and things of that nature. Yeah. Well, now with 811, the message is different. They want to reach as many people as they can about the 811 initiative, call before you dig. So, again, the social media stuff, that's where I said, if we can make the switch, and I went to Trans Service and Glenn and asked and if they would, be okay with us doing that, because this happened, literally made the switch a few weeks ago.
No kidding.
And Glenn's and the Trans Service folks said, whatever's best for Sim 500, we support. So they're a trucking company. Again, they'll be over the Wednesday Truck Series. It starts in March. So we have 3 premier series. We like to call them Mondays our Cup, Wednesdays our Trucks, which again starts in March, and then Sunday is our FEG Xfinity Series, and we'll start that series the week after Daytona. And Jeff Ford at FEG Ford Entertainment Group has put up a direct drive Fanatec steering wheel for the driver who completes the most laps. So you don't have to be the fastest guy. You don't have to win races.
Yep.
You just have to show up and just have to complete laps to win an awesome prize. Now, if there is a tie, obviously we'd go back to wins and top 5s and top 10s or whatever we needed to break that tie. But everything else, again, our premier Monday, Wednesday, Sunday, those all 3, we do a package on entry. So it's $100 to race in all 3 series.
Okay.
Monday, LSR TV. Wednesday, we're with Ghostfire Media, and then Sunday, we're with the Captain Esports Network. And then Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays are all free. We have free series, a super late model series that runs on bigger tracks on Tuesdays. VRN's covering that. Thursdays, the NASCAR Dirt Series. That's something new for us, but we're getting almost 30 cars every race with that.
Oh, that's great.
So we're excited to keep that going with our partners over there. John Fowler's done a great job with his league, and it's kind of a partnership and a merger we put together. And then Saturday, we're trying our best, but let me forget, Friday, Midnight Thunder is also free. It's broadcasted by Extreme TV, and then Saturday is also broadcasted by Extreme. What we're trying on Saturdays is to get that 87 car up and going, but it's a real tough car to get guys attracted to for some reason. But those both Friday and Saturday both start at 10 Eastern practice, so they give you time to go out and spend time with the family and come back and do some racing.
Now, you mentioned that it was kind of interesting. You said that you're having a hard time getting guys interested in the 87s. We're finding just the opposite, because we're going to go with what we call a Premier League, and right now our main league is Sunday afternoons. It's our next gen Cup Series, but we upped our iRating limit a little bit for this season. We're in season 4 right now, and because what we wanted to do was we have some drivers that are getting really, really good, and other drivers that are just out for a Sunday drive and just want to hang out and have a couple beers while they race and have a good time. So we increased our maximum iRating from 2,000 up to 2,500 to get people in, and then promote the Premier League, which is going to be a higher iRating to even get in the league. And we were asking what cars they wanted to drive. We were throwing around like Xfinities, the Gen 6, or the 87s, and the 87s came out on top as the number one choice. So I think that's what we're going to be going with. We'll find out tomorrow night when we have our first test run. Tomorrow night we're doing 100 laps at Homestead, Miami at 8:30 under hosted on iRacing. And that's what surprised me. Why don't people seem to be interested in 87s? Too hard to drive, or nobody knows what it is?
Yeah, I think where the car was a year ago, it was and is fairly difficult to drive.
Yep.
And, it works good at certain racetracks. I mean, we had, I don't know how many cars they had Saturday night at North Wilkesboro, but you can only imagine. That's a very difficult track. We had 23 cars show up for North Wilkesboro. So,
okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's a win for us at a track like that, because we've got enough data to know what people are looking for, and North Wilkesboro in the 87 is not it.
No kidding.
Basically in my league, or in our league. But we were happy with that. But, it was a caution-filled race. Short track racing is very tough.
Yes.
It's great on paper, but in reality, to the sim world, you really need that special group of drivers that really understand and have the patience that it takes to drive those tracks. And, drivers that have a real racing background, they get it. They understand it a little better. It's easier. Right. We ran 5 flags in the super late models on Tuesday, and it was the same thing. So we struggle a little bit with short tracks. We hate road courses. So, but no, I wish the 87 was a little different. I wish it drove like a truck or something like that, because it is probably the sexiest race car on the service. And I would love to race that car all day long. Unfortunately, Saturdays don't work for me, but our guys, we're working hard to try to find that group that wants to come out and keep those cars prevalent. But the ARCA car may follow it. We had good success with it. We were getting 30 some odd drivers on Saturday with it. It wasn't broadcasted, and just kind of showing up, and guys were having fun.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I'll jump in an official race on ARCA, and it reminds me of being like 17 years old and driving your grandfather's 1975 Buick Riviera or some gigantic, grandfather boat car. It's totally different beast to drive, but it is so much fun. I love driving the ARCA cars.
Yeah, and the ARCA car was a lot of fun. I don't know if they changed the package up on it, but you can't really bump on those cars on the super speedways.
No,
so
not at all.
Parker Kligerman actually triggered probably one of the biggest wrecks. You could probably find that on YouTube, but Parker was I was actually traveling to Orlando with the family, and we had I think we had a full field, and they hadn't made many laps. I'm driving on the road and watching the race. And I don't know what Parker did, but he triggered a mass. I mean, it was the biggest wreck I've ever seen. I think everybody was involved in it. It was so big it made it on NASCAR.com.
Oh, really?
It made it on NASCAR.com, and Parker destroyed the entire field in a sim race.
Oh man, I tell you, it is such a small world. You mentioned Parker Kligerman there. I volunteer with what's called a group called the Right Handers over at Lime Rock Park, which is just about an hour from me. And Parker Kligerman is one of the 20 some odd new owners of the park over there after Skip Barber stepped aside a little bit and brought in some management team to take over. So we haven't seen him there at the track yet. But Lime Rock has been saved. Get a chance to go over and work 3 major events over there. Basically, we make sure the drivers get to the winner's circle and run the media room and driving people around and basically just taking care of a lot of the customer service stuff, and it's a blast. And Skip Barber's been trying to bring in new ownership over there for many years, and he gets real close to signing a deal, and all of a sudden they start talking golf courses and condos, and he shuts them right down. So he's got some real car guys in there now. Roger Penske is on the board. Parker Kligerman's part owner. A lot of Porsche dealers, Porsche parts guys are involved. They've got Porsche themselves involved, so it's guaranteed to stay as a really premier road track for quite a while. And yeah, I love racing road tracks, but when we do it on Joe's Six Pack Racing, we do, coming up this weekend is Watkins Glen, and I love the road tracks. We go to Watkins Glen camping every summer and get the hot passes for NASCAR and everything. But if there's 24 cars that are starting in our league, and I'm one of them, I will finish 32nd every time. It's just it's just really, really hard to drive road, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and really that just comes down to having the time to put in the laps, and I really don't race much. I'll race in the league. I don't race much. I race Monday through Thursday on most cases. I've been taking Wednesdays off.
Yeah.
But and then I travel down to the beach on the weekends. But
okay.
I don't do any official racing. I tried to get into dirt. I got my C license. It was a great challenge to get there. I think anybody out there that if you don't have your C license in dirt, I think it's something that you need to get. It's different, obviously, than asphalt, but it really teaches you some things that would really, I think, make your asphalt racing a lot better. I had a blast. The challenge to get there, and I did it in like a day and a half.
Oh wow!
But
that's quick.
Yeah. I put a lot of effort in, a lot of racing, and just stayed.
Yeah.
The whole thing about your I rating and your SR really is just being a safe driver.
Pretty much.
Being smart about what you're doing, and finishes are important, but you also have to finish the race. And that's in my real racing career. When I first started out, that was the main thing. Hey, if you put it on the truck at the end of the night, we had a successful day. We keep doing that. The finishes will keep coming. So throughout my career, I drove for people, and, sometimes I didn't push it as hard as I needed to, but at the end of the day, they didn't have to pay a bill to fix a race car.
Oh, they're not cheap, especially if your team doesn't have a lot of money. I mean, the money that these teams put out on the top series is just incredible. Tell me a little bit about your real life racing. You said you had a bunch of ARCA starts. Tell me about your history with ARCA.
Well, I wouldn't say a bunch. I've got a few. Okay. I spent most of my time, as a blue collar dreamer, basically.
Yep.
My granddad was in the sport a long time ago, and basically I'd do it on my own. I didn't have any family backing me or anything like that. So had some friends along the way put up some money. My cousin helped me out a little bit, but we found ourselves with a dirt late model, and I'll tell you, it was embarrassing. We went out to a local Alabama dirt track here, and I didn't have a clue how to drive a Burt transmission. So I jumped in the car at the track, and we fired it up, and I'm yelling at my crew chief, it won't go in gear. The guy next to us is watching us. We raised the car up, and I'm sure people out there laughing already, but we're bleeding the clutch, thinking that's the problem. Well, this guy comes over, he shuts the car off. He says, drop the car. Y'all have no idea what y'all are doing, do you? And we're like, well, honestly, no. He's like, all right. Man. He's like, push the clutch in and shove it into gear. And so I did that, and the car took off. And he's like, you have to keep the clutch mashed in for the car to go. Then when you get on the racetrack, you lift off the clutch and you slam it back in race gear. I had no clue. So we started there.
That's great.
And made it all the way to Daytona in the ARCA series.
No kidding.
We had a good car down there a few years ago, and I say a few, it's actually 6 years ago that we actually went down there and had a good car, had an Ilmore in it, but just unfortunate circumstances. The way ARCA, kind of handled some of the qualifying in the groups.
Yeah.
We made a gear change in the last practice. We didn't get the speed we needed out of the car. The last practice is only an hour, so that's kind of how they lined us up.
Okay.
Was based on that. So in ARCA, you have the Ilmore and you have Legacy engines, which those at the time, could not even keep up. So it was myself. I can't remember the kid's name that was in front of us, but we both had Ilmores, and we walked away from the other 3 cars in our group of 5. And I missed the race based on, just by a hair. But everybody else had 5 cars in the Ilmore, so they were able to get out there and stretch their legs. We were pretty good in practice. I mean, we led some draft. I had a long line of cars on the bottom of the track. We ran hard with some of the Cunningham cars, and we had Earl Barbin up on the tower, Jimmy Johnson's spotter. So we had everything we needed. We went down there it was kind of like a Days of Thunder kind of thing. This gentleman, gets some money, wants to build a race team. I find a car, we buy it, and we're putting it together in a barn. Matter of fact, at Ryan Newman's seat, we had certified by Butler on an emergency situation so we could get it in the car and go. And we actually had the championship provisional that Grant Enfinger won the year before, but for some reason my partner was talked out of it, and I'm not one to back down from a challenge. So we said, let's go down there and earn it. And I had no problem doing that. I knew there was a chance we could miss the race, but at the end of the day, my goals as a kid, I love Daytona.
Yeah.
I've never been, but I wouldn't go to Daytona until I walked through the gate as a driver. So accomplish that at 36 years old, no matter the circumstances, it was a very successful trip. It was, me and my now wife went down together, didn't have any family with us. Yeah. I wish there would have been some family and down to enjoy some of that. But, sure. The racing's been my thing, and I've never done it for anybody else other than myself. But, when you get down to it, most people get into something like that, especially when you're risking your life to make money. And today's sport, I don't know how many of those guys make money. I'm not going to mention any names, but I talked to an actual Truck Series winner, and he told me he made more money. He hadn't won a bunch of truck races, but he's won one race. He said, man, I made more money working as a used car salesman than I do running the Truck Series. So, I mean, it's just tough, the pay-to-play deal. We had a chance to go run Daytona and Talladega this year in the ARCA Series, and, it was $100,000. I mean, it doesn't –
oh, my gosh.
That's it. It's just money, buddy. I mean, if you want to be a race car driver today, it's just money. So, that kind of, for me, when I got to North Carolina and got around some of these people and understood, how the sport had transitioned, and they wanted my money and I wanted theirs, and they were clearly not going to give me any of theirs. So it was time to let that thing go.
Wow.
I didn't care about walking around in a driving suit, taking pictures and trying to look cool.
Yeah.
I wanted fat pockets and, and master a craft and have a challenge. But again, it's just different. The sport is, like you said, it's expensive to race, and unfortunately, the drivers, the ones that are having to pay the toll these days to be in the car.
Yeah, now the deal is we'll hire you, but you've got to bring some money with you. So you got to have your own sponsor and your own media company or whatever you want to call it. There, your license, whatever it is. Agents getting you sponsors before you can even drive for somebody now, it seems.
Yeah, and I mean, most of it is it's relationships, it's family, it's who you know. Because I can tell you there's a lot of groups out there that obviously reached out and said, hey, man, you hire us, we'll get you sponsors. And, that stuff, just if it was that easy, it's just not that easy. Literally, it's just you've got to have people in your corner. And I don't even know what the payoff is at the end of the day. I mean, other than you get, have fun getting to see your name on a car.
Yeah.
It's just tough, the sport. But, the thing is, we're all race fans, and no matter what NASCAR does, I think we're all going to continue to watch. You hear some that say it's dead and they're not going to watch it. Well, if you're a true race fan, you're going to watch. You're going to be there. You're going to tune in. It may not be what you like, but it's still racing. Obviously, with the way the sport's changed, the personalities have changed. I know that's been difficult for fans, I think, to kind of, get, have that guy to get behind, like the old days when you had just about everybody in the field was a personality, from Rusty to Dale to Daryl.
Yeah.
It was just a whole different world, and that's what built the sport. Those guys and those personalities. We don't have that anymore. And I think that's a good part of why the seats are empty. And also, too, I don't know that a blue collar guy has anything in common with a a 16 or 18-year-old kid who had never worked a day in his life. I mean, what kind of fan base is he really bringing to the racetrack? You know what I mean? Other than dad's money and dad's friends.
Right. And back then there were personalities. Now they're celebrities.
Yeah, some are. I mean, they are. And I mean, that's good. I mean, because, you know, you gotta have those people for sure to keep the sport going. And I think Harvick and a bunch of guys are doing a good job holding the stick right now. And you know, it's great to see Larson back. Larson's brought a lot of fans back, and then dirt fans to NASCAR. So, but you know, as far as racing is concerned, I love all forms. F1, I watch everything racing. I love watching dirt. So, you know, I was telling a guy today. Matter of fact, I was at work and out at a steel mill, and I haven't seen the guy in a while. He runs 410. Used to run 410 sprint cars, and he had a wreck and messed his back up. And I didn't even know they ran 410 sprint cars in Alabama. I was floored by that. We don't even know what sprint cars are down here, but I told him about iRacing, and matter of fact, he's going to look it up tonight, and I guarantee I've got him hooked. I'm like, you can run 410s from your basement or your living room, and you're okay if you wreck.
And it's pretty darn realistic. I was amazed at how they were able to just mimic the dirt tracks, you know, and as the bumper or whatever, the buffer, whatever you want to call it, shows you how much I know about dirt, changes every lap you go around. It's like it's almost like a whole new line. I don't run much dirt, but when I do, I love running the sprints. We'll do that in our off seasons. We take most of the summer off, and it's like we shut down for the summer, and then the first Sunday afternoon that we're not racing, somebody's on the Discord, hey, anybody want to run sprint somewhere? And before you know it, we're racing again just for fun in the summer, and the sprints are a blast. Or just love that, just trying to learn it. Of course, I suck at it, but it's just so much fun.
Yeah, again, getting that C license, you know, you can... You can run, I think it may be the 410, I don't really know, but ran it a couple of times at Charlotte, and I hadn't turned a lap in the car, and I was driving scared to death. I'm like, don't hit the race car, just don't touch me, you know, and those cars are already kind of on edge. But no, I had a blast at Charlotte with it. You know, it's just when you hold it wide open, then it's all about how little you turn the wheel as fast as you can go. Or the faster you go. So, you know, like I said, I really enjoyed the little bit of dirt I've been doing. John Fowler and the guys brought me out to try some. I really love that 358 modified, and that's been a blast. And then actually I practiced at Lernerville, I think it is. It didn't have walls off in the turn 1 and 2 down the back, so I think that's Lernerville. But anyways, I practiced, probably got 1,000 practice laps in. I didn't realize it was Snowball Derby weekend. And so all that practice for nothing. I was at the races, and I missed our Thursday event, but been taking it serious and trying to really get this thing figured out. Those guys race pretty hard. Before we had a dirt league here and at Sim 500, and I never made a feature. So I didn't anticipate doing anything big, and I made the first feature, and it was like, even the broadcast group was like, holy hell, Joey made the feature. It was a big deal.
I guess sounds like it. Hey, with 7 leagues and sounds like a handful of broadcasters, how many admins and such are helping you out, and what's it like during the week? How do you review races that are done and plan for upcoming weeks and upcoming races?
Well, our admin team, I got to give it to them. They put up a lot for me, but man, we really have a very simple process. I've tried to, as being an admin, I've seen it done so many different ways. So the one thing that we used to do was the articles. If you were a series admin, you were responsible for a winner picture and the article. And that was just like a job. So we took that off the table. So now all our league admin is responsible for. That series admin is giving the drivers meeting, maintaining our chat, and then at the end of the race getting us a winner picture. And then depending, we'll get the points or they'll get the points. So it's very easy to be an admin at 7500 the way we have it set up right now. But I'll set up all the servers for the week, and I'm sure my guys are, you know, their eyes are rolling because I mess up more than I do good.
That sounds like me.
You have problems with that too?
Yeah, I blame it on there's something called dyslexia. So I bring that up.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that next time they ask me. I think they know I got dumbassia, I think, at times. But no, they keep me honest.
Yeah.
We'll send out. I'll send out a race email most races, but I cover Monday, Tuesday, and I'll shoot the email out for Wednesday. But we've got Brian Macklin who covers our Wednesday series for us. He has no idea how to upload points. Brian, if you've figured it out by now, thanks. And we've got Tyler Dalton, Randy Oakham. They do our pictures for us. And then Randy actually has redesigned our website. It looks beautiful.
I saw that. It looks good.
So you can check out sim500.com. I've been begging for banners for our series. He finally got those done for us. The website looks tremendous. But
cool.
Steve Herring is a veteran leader. He's been a hold of Midnight Thunder for probably 5 or 6 years between two different leagues where Midnight Thunder's kind of transition, and he basically runs the show. And then Saturday is Bobby Wetzel, and Tyler helps out with Bobby on Saturdays, and then Sundays is our boy Jimmy Coleman. So our admin staff's about 8 to 10 deep.
Okay.
They listen to me, complain and cry, and if our numbers aren't right or this isn't done, and they put up with a lot. But I use this to keep my mind going and to give me something that I'm not a big TV guy. I like to stay busy.
Yeah.
And that's what Sim 500 does for me. I mean, I work Sim 500, as you know, with your league. I work it every single day, but I've also got it down to where it's very simple now. I'm not putting nowhere near the hours in, other than we're getting ready for the new year to start. So obviously we're making a push to get, our final few our drivers registered. I think we have 4 or 5 openings on Monday night for the NC 811 Call Before You Dig Cup Series. The Sunday Xfinity Series is doing good. We'll probably have about 60 drivers there. We'll have 55 on Monday. You will have to qualify your way into that series. So, like I said, we get through the first couple of races, and then the work kind of slows down. We post up our broadcasts on our main Facebook page, which is the Sim 500 Esports Racing League. And it's just real simple the way we do it.
Sounds like it. How easy was it transitioning from rules to no rules? And what happens if somebody just, some new driver or somebody gets cocky and they start acting like a jerk? How do you handle that?
Well, the transition really wasn't that bad for us because at the end of the day, our guys have been doing this long enough that they understand, what causes crashes.
Yeah.
The gas pedal, if you don't lift off of it or you're not paying attention. So that really, we did an incident point system for so many years. We kept track, and it really became pointless because it was never the same person. So you would sit there and track and think you're fixing to find. And a lot of guys have trouble coming into Sim 500 because they think somebody's got to be punished if they make a mistake. I'm completely opposite because at the real world racing, it's going to happen.
Exactly.
So Buddy Baker told me when I met him, he said, Joey, there's going to be a hell of a lot more downs than there is ups in racing. If you can handle the downs, you're going to love the ups. And that's been the truth. And that's what a lot of guys don't get. That's racing.
You're right.
Racing is uncontrollable, and you're not going to control it by rules and incident point systems.
Yep.
Drivers are not thinking about those things on the racetrack.
No, they're not.
And you don't want them thinking about that. You want them thinking about what they're doing on the racetrack, not, oh, shit, if I make a mistake, I'm going to get kicked out of the league. You don't want that. You want them focused on the race. And so for me, I've never been a fan of rules. I've never been a fan of incident systems because it's just not racing. So the transition wasn't bad. Like I said, our incident point deal was doing nothing. Yeah. It was costing me a bunch of time tracking drivers. It was never the same people. So, again, it did nothing. Now where we're at with the racing we have, if you do cause or have problems, you stick out like a sore thumb. We don't have, in our premier races, we don't have many cautions. Example, we had 35 cars Monday night, Iowa. In the next-gen car, we ran 140 laps caution-free.
Oh, that's great.
We had tires blowing on cars, which the next-gen tire fall-off is amazing right now. 3 lanes of racing, lap cars, racing with their heads on leaders, being smart in traffic. And I mean, it was just a great race.
Cool.
We do that constantly. We actually last year, maybe the year before, we went caution free in 3 straight races. It was Richmond, Talladega, and I forgot the other track on Monday night.
That never happens at Talladega.
There's not many leagues that do that once a year. We did it 3 straight races in a row with no caution. Matter of fact, we had just joined Podium Esports right through the pandemic, and we put that show on 3 weeks in a row. So we got the guys. We don't lose many people at the league, thankfully.
Good.
We have had some issues in the past where guys don't agree with certain decisions, but we try to make it as fair as we can. We're always open to polling drivers and getting opinions. I mean, I think the more guys we have, putting input into the league, the better we're going to be. So
sounds like it.
I'm not one of those league owners that's got to be my way. I always say it's not about me. It's about the league when you come to me with anything. I don't care what you think. What do you think is best for the league? You may love to run short tracks or North Wilkesboro, but is that really the best thing for the league? And that's kind of how we kick our conversations off.
No, that's great. That's kind of the way our league runs. I'm always asking for input. I love doing, like you said, the behind-the-scenes stuff. I did talk radio for 6 years. I was hanging out at radio stations since I was 14 years old. I'll be 60 next month. I did some TV, and when I was in lawn and garden business, I did a lot of public speaking and a lot of teaching. I just love the promoting and the organizing of stuff, and I don't know a lot about racing other than you get in and you go as fast as you can and you hope you get to the checkered flag before the guy behind you does. So when it comes up to certain tracks and cars, I've got guys that know a heck of a lot more about racing than I ever will. So it's just kind of like I'm just the leader, and you guys point me in the direction I'm supposed to be going. Points. How do you determine winners for your leagues, and how many races is each league for each season?
Well, we use the standard. I don't even know what it used to be. Dan and Lisa. Now, what do they call it? Don't even know. I have to go look. The Sim Racer Hub. That's kind of what we use for everything. Okay. Again, it's kind of hard to go away from it because of the history we have in so many races that is a part of that. So we're a part of that. But Mondays, our Cup Series, I believe we're at 35 races this year, 34 races, 32. We'll run 25 or 26 on Wednesday, and about the same on Sunday with our premier stuff. And the reason why we're shortening up our Xfinity Series is obviously the NFL does impact your racing on Sundays, believe it or not.
Yep.
So we've gotten smart this year. We're going to kick this thing off. We're going to keep it on fun, fast racetracks, but we'll mix in a little bit of difficulty throughout the season. We're changing up our playoffs just because NASCAR does it. We don't really doesn't mean we have to do that. So we had some success last year with Wednesday night. We changed the playoff format up, so it worked well. But going back to Sundays, we will finish before the NFL season, or at least around week 1, I think is what it is. But when I mentioned the playoffs, how we determine our champion on Monday is we'll actually qualify 20 drivers into our playoffs, and then we'll have a 5-race. They'll all zero out, and we'll have 5 races. So whoever's in the top 10 will then advance to the final round, and there'll be another 5 races. 3-point bonuses for race wins within those rounds. They do not transfer. And then after 5 races, you'll have a champion. So we feel like that what we've seen last year with our Trans Service Cup finale, we had 4 really strong contenders. They've been great all season long. And 2 of them made contact in the race. It knocked one of them out.
Oh, no.
2 others had issues with other parts of the track or drivers, and you had 1 guy left. So for all the work that you put in and the time you invest, we feel like that we need to give you something a little bit more.
Yeah.
And kind of more traditional, I guess you would, when it comes to consistency. So that's how we're going to determine our 811 call before you dig champion this year, and I'm excited about that. I think we've got a great mix of tracks. We've got a good mix of off weeks where we try to mimic NASCAR and follow the schedule, but this year we went off the track. Their schedule is so crazy. I think they're only off on the holidays. We're off a little bit more than that. We're going to take a summer break off for 2 weeks, June 27th through the 4th of July. So that'll be nice for everybody in the middle of the year to kind of get away from it and come back fresh because there is a lot of pressure on Monday nights. There's a lot of prizes and stuff. Money like Daytona, for example, is going to pay $100 for the race winner.
Cool.
We'll be announcing more payouts for certain tracks throughout the year, but right now that's the only one we've got locked up so far. But Julian will do like what NASCAR did with the no bull situation. We'll do that and have the payout for those 4 premier or major events throughout the season.
Sounds good. And what else? Oh, you mentioned somebody that helped you out with racing, Norm Benning. Tell me a little bit about him.
Oh yeah, I've been lucky to hang around some good people, and Norm's definitely one of those. With the racing, the ARCA series, we had a deal set up to run Talladega for an ARCA team, and the owner's synonymous. We didn't know at the time. A lot of us didn't, but for taking sponsor money and running, and he did that to us at Talladega.
Yep.
I don't know how it got to Norm Benning, but I got a call on the phone one day, and it was him, and he said, "Man, why don't you come up here to Gateway? I'll put you in one of my trucks, and we'll let you get a start, and we'll just see where we can go." And obviously, we were hoping we could maintain our sponsorship, and do more in the trucks with Norm. But we got to go to Gateway. It was it rained like hell that race. I think twice it just poured. Yeah. And I was actually in Norm's Daytona truck, and I think he qualified pretty good with that thing that year. And he came up to me and he said, "Look," he said, I wasn't paid to be there. It was just a gift from Norm to bring me up and get the experience. And man, what an experience it was to actually get to be a part of a NASCAR event, have your name called and ride in the back of a truck. And
cool.
Got a pretty good applause for a little guy from Alabama nobody's heard of. I thought that was pretty cool. But
there you go.
Norm came to me and he said, "Look, the grip's gone this racetrack." He's like, "Would you just take the green and bring it in? Let's think big picture." And I said, "Mr. Benning," I said, "this is your truck. I'm going to do exactly what you say." He says, "Okay, well, when you park that truck," he says, "I want you to come up and help change tires." I said, "Yes, sir." So I did exactly what he told me. I wound up making my first NASCAR start, and also was a pit crew member in the same race. I changed front tires for Norm. And then that was an experience to do a real NASCAR. And I don't think about that often, but I've done a couple of NASCAR pit stops, poor Norm. But we went back with him to Iowa the very next week. So I drove from Alabama all the way to Iowa.
Yeah.
And we were going to do another start there for Norm. But, it was a situation where we could change the numbers around, and I would be locked in. Then Norm would have to qualify in, which was no big deal because other trucks there, they weren't going to be able to make it in. But there was a smaller team that pulled in there, and I think we both looked at each other and we were just like, this isn't worth it. They've pulled here. They're going to try to run the race. So I wound up spotting for Norm. So in 2 races, I started a race, I was a tire changer, and then I was a NASCAR spotter. So I had a hell of a career in 2 weeks of racing.
Yeah, in a short time. That's great.
But, I just couldn't keep it up. It was just too much for us to keep moving. And then things kind of came back around where the ARCA thing kind of picked back up, and we had that opportunity there. So, like I said, as much as I put into it, I think I got everything out of it. I wasn't blessed enough with the fortunes to go behind me. But, some of the things we did as far as our programs are concerned, suicide prevention was a big thing for me. I lost a family member to suicide.
Same here.
It messed me up as a child. And that was kind of the racing aspect is what kind of kept me focused and going forward. I made some mistakes along the way as a young man, but still race cars were what drove me to success and where I'm at today. If I didn't have the dream and the love and desire, I don't know where I'd be today, honestly. But we worked for the Alabama Foundation for Suicide Prevention. We did some national stuff for the American Foundation Prevention. I wrote a blog. I worked with a group called Mission 22, which was centered around our veterans, 22 deaths a day to suicide with our veterans. So I actually got to the point where I was actually over the state of Alabama for them. We put on multiple events to raise awareness, raise money for the cause. So we did a lot of good. The thing for me too, obviously making money is one thing, but the platform is even better. Even for somebody like myself, when you really aren't anybody, but there's a lot of people that care. Yep. And those people that care are listening to you. So
true.
I wanted to make sure we tried to do something positive with a little bit of time that we had.
Yeah.
And I think we did. I would have loved to have done more. But like I said, it just got harder and harder and harder to find the money to keep up. And then,
true.
Do you really just want to drive around in circles? I mean, as a race car driver, you want to be competitive. You want to go out and race. You want to, contend for top 20s. I mean, if you realistically can't afford to run for the wins or have the seat time to race with those guys. Because, I mean, these young guys and these other guys, veterans, have been racing every day of their life. You can't just walk in racing every other month and expect to race up front with them or contend for wins. So
that's true.
Speaking of truck series, got to give a shout out to Donnie Leah. He actually races at Sim 500. So Donnie's a truck winner. Donnie's a great guy. We've enjoyed having him around. We've had some success with a lot of the bigger names. We mentioned, Parker earlier, but we also have been fortunate enough to do some stuff with Joe Gibbs Racing during the winter. We've put on the Joe Gibbs Winter Challenge 3 years in a row.
Wow.
We've had Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, you name it, a lot of the crew members. We've actually had the broadcast on the Joe Gibbs Racing Facebook page. Last year they sent, or it was 2 years ago, they sent the winner out to Texas with Interstate batteries. Interstate was big. They sponsored it, had a big show before the race. We would change vehicles, kind of like an IROC thing.
Yep.
So, man, I'm going to tell you, as far as racing is concerned, again, I haven't done nowhere near or shown anything close to what I could have done in a race car. Look, I'm not dead yet. There's no telling if the money's right or something happens, we don't get a chance to go do it again. But
true.
With sim racing, I mean, in iRacing, what they've built and put together as far as a platform, as a kid, you can, if I was a kid that had iRacing, I would have never left the house. You can literally race with your hero every night, whether they're a dirt racer or NASCAR or whatever. You've got that platform now to interact with them. It
is so much fun.
It is just the coolest thing. So, again, it ties into it all. Just very blessed and just having a lot of fun and just love the sport so much.
Same here. And if I ever won one of those big $500 million lotteries, I just wondered how long I could run a NASCAR team for. And you're looking at, well, after taxes, you're left with $140 million, maybe 5 years. I'll stick to iRacing.
As your financial advisor, I would suggest you not buy a race car and you buy a big-ass boat and enjoy that. Because you're going to get a lot more enjoyment out of that, and you're going to actually have a resale value.
Have something to sell back.
Just think about that when you win the money.
Oh, yeah. Well, Joey, this has been great. I want to thank you for stopping in tonight and being on the show. And it like you said, it's such a small world. You brought up the name Parker Kligerman, and I'm like, yeah, I know who that is. He owns the racetrack I say that I work at sometimes. So... well, congratulations on doing so much in NASCAR career in about 2 weeks or 2 races there. That sounded great, and good luck with your upcoming seasons. And if you don't mind, I'll check in with you every once in a while and see how things are going and invite you back in and talk some more racing.
Man, we'd love to do that. And, hey, when the summer comes around and y'all shut things down, come over and see us at Sim 500. We'd love to have you. I think you'd enjoy the atmosphere and just kind of, for me, I wish there was a time that we shut down that I could just go somewhere and be a driver. But you never know. As much as the behind-the-scenes stuff you love to do, man, there's always a spot to keep you busy during the summer, man. But thanks so much for having me on tonight. And
you're more than welcome.
Everybody out there, thanks for listening, tuning in, and sim500.com. Again, got to thank Randy Yoakum for that great website we have now. But thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care. Good night. Joey Jattina, Sim 500 Esports Racing League, around since the days of, I guess, console racing, I guess you could call it. Great conversation. Like I said, always a small world, always some connections out there, and that's what's great about the racing world. It's just one big family, and you find out if you talked to a few people. Hey, I know that guy. Joey Giacchina from Sim 500 Esports Racing League. You can check them out online, and they said they got a couple spots left open, 5 or 6 spots for a couple of their leagues. No rules racing. Sounds like a plan. And I want to let you know that Lugcoin is the crypto coin of Joe Sixpack Racing, and unlike a lot of other leagues where you join and you pay a fee to get in and it's mandatory, this is totally voluntary. It's like a charter system, and when you leave the league, you can sell it back and maybe make a profit. So it's our crypto coin, and it's just something a lot of fun to get people involved to help promote the league, and it's based on the average of 3 regular crypto coins, and I post the updates twice a day. And right now we're looking good. A couple weeks ago, the Lugcoin wasn't looking that bad, and it's just a way that our league members can help support the league. And again, it's just totally voluntary and just something fun to do because we've got a lot of guys in the league that are into crypto. Another way to support Joe Sixpack Racing is the Joe Sixpack Racing merch shop on Cafe Press. Could use that Arctic Fleece blanket, that 50 by 60 cozy fleece with the Joe Sixpack Racing logo on it. I guess even down there in Alabama last week it was cold. And I think we finally got above freezing today for the first time since early January. And also the Joe Sixpack hoodies are in 3 of our logos. Joe Sixpack Racing, Cup Series, Truck Series, and also the Joe Sixpack Podcast. About 500 different items you can look up at cafepress.com/Joe Sixpack Racing League. $5 of every purchase goes to support the league. The rest goes to pay Cafe Press and whoever makes the stuff. Coming up this Friday night, February 11th at 8 p.m., Ryan Hatch and Magnus Anderson from the Bitcoin Boys Racing League and Bitcoin Boys Broadcasting. Got some Bitcoin miners. Started their own racing league, and they'll be here to talk about what they have going on Friday night, live here on Twitch at 8 p.m. And that's about it for this week and this edition of the Joe Sixpack Podcast. Thanks again, Joey Giacchina, and if you want to catch this one and share it with your friends, it'll be up on YouTube, and then tomorrow we'll download the audio and then send it out to Spotify, Google Podcast, Amazon Podcast, Apple Podcast, Anchor, and a whole bunch of others. Check out Joe Sixpack Racing online at Joe Sixpack Racing League on Facebook. If you want to get into any of our leagues, it's pretty easy to do. Safety rating of Rookie 2.0 to A 4.0. And right now with a iRating max of 2,500. We're starting a new series tomorrow night. New test series, the Joe Sixpack Racing Premier Racing Series. And we're doing the 87s at Miami Homestead tomorrow night at 8:30. And you can find that under iRacing Leagues on the hosted page. And as usual, thank you for listening, tuning in, and supporting us. And we'll see you on the track. Have yourselves a good night. We'll see you again Friday night.